Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our second class here in this beautiful little series of learning Pirkei Avot, the ethics of our fathers, and in continuing with the model that we started last week, we're going to be exploring one Mishnah and one Mishnah only, and to try to plumb its depths of what its message is. What is the underlying message? What is its guidance for life? So we're gonna do a special Mishnah for this week's chapter, and the Mishnah is special. First of all, it's a very powerful message itself, but it also, through our study of this Mishnah, we're going to really touch upon the very essence of the Pirkei Avot, of the ethics of our fathers, how it works, how it functions, and what it really means. The ethical guide for the Jew, what this is all about. So in a certain way, this is a very fundamental topic that we'll be touching upon, especially as we, towards the end of today's class. All right. So with that, without further ado, let us begin with our first text, the text for today, which is on page 2, the opening text in your handouts. And did everybody get that? Right? Everybody got that email, yeah? Okay, very good. And this is chapter 2 of Avot. Tonight and tomorrow, this week's chapter is chapter 2. And this is the 15th Mishnah in chapter 2 of Avot. And here we go. It's a little bit of a cryptic Mishnah. Let us read. Rabbi Tarfon would say, the day is short. The work is much. The workers are lazy. The reward is great. And the boss is urging. That's the whole Mishnah. Day is short. We have 5 items on the agenda here, right? There's 5 specific ideas here. The day is short. The work is much. Workers are lazy. Reward is great. And the boss is urging. It's a little bit cryptic. So what do you think? Go ahead and unmute. What is the Mishnah? What's the subject matter here? What's Rabbi Tarfon talking about? What's he trying to impart to us? What's the message of this Mishnah? What would you say?
For me, in essence, it would be to just make every day count.
Right.
And
so what does he mean when he says the day is short? What is that referring to?
Well, we could go at any time, I would imagine. I mean, we don't know when our time is up. Only Hashem knows that. Oh. So make the best of each day, work hard, study, pray, live your best life, what God put out there for us.
Right. Yeah, very good. Essentially, Rabbi Tarfon is comparing life to the workday. The day is very short, the hours are ticking, time is going by, we're running out of time, there's so much to do, high stakes, high reward, the boss is on our back, let's get to work. That seems to be the message of the Mishnah, which is, essentially what it's saying. That's right, Gail, right? That, the day is short. Get to work. But there's 5 specific messages here. And I want to go in depth into these 5 specific clauses. Each one is a specific message. And together they really create the motivational inspiration for a Jew. A Jew needs inspiration to get to work, to do our life's mission, to live up our purpose. So let us go. I want to spend a few minutes on each specific line over here and unpack, based on what the commentaries teach us, what is really the depth of what Rabbi Tarfon is teaching us over here. The subject matter of this Mishnah is our life's mission. And specifically looking at our life's mission, the daily mission of a Jew, from the perspective of a problem that we all know very well, we all suffer from, which is called laziness or procrastination. You all know what I'm talking about? I'm not the only one that suffers from this problem, right? Okay. The commentaries on this Mishnah write that there's not a single human in the world that is not saved from this problem. Everybody has this problem. It's impossible to not suffer from this problem. Well, the question is to what degree. Some people are more lazy, some less. Some procrastinate more, some less. But ultimately, this is a part and parcel of the human condition that difficult tasks we push off. Daunting tasks we push off. And we form all types of excuses in our mind to rationalize our procrastination. And sometimes we fool ourselves to think that our excuses are legitimate excuses. Sometimes we know that they're just excuses, but we still keep on making the excuses. So what Rabbi Tarfon does is over here, he addresses the 5 top excuses that we may tell ourselves to push off or to just try to shake off our duty, the call of duty, the mission that we all have. And Rabbi Tarfon is not just talking about any job. Any job is important, but Rabbi Tarfon is specifically addressing the job, the most important job, our mission, our purpose in life endowed to us by our Creator, our very calling that we were created for, which is the subject matter of our Mishnah, which is that God gave every single one of us a mission, a purpose. Our lives are not just biological mistakes. Judaism believes our mistakes our lives are meaningful. We have purpose. And we need to live a life of purpose. But sometimes we avoid that life of purpose. Sometimes we avoid the mission, the calling for life. And that's what we're going to be doing over here. As I said, 5 statements that correspond to the most 5 common excuses. And this is Rabbi Tarfon's 5-point motivational speech. So let us begin. What is the most common excuse of procrastination? What would you say? The most common excuse. What do we always tell ourselves?
I'm tired.
Say that again, Evgenia?
I'm tired.
You're tired?
No, like that's the thing that I say.
Right, no.
I'm tired
so
to
that's,
do it.
okay, that's a good one. You're tired. What else?
I'll
No
get
time.
to it later.
Oh, Sharon. I think I agree with Sharon.
What did she say?
So we'll get to later, and I think that is the number one thing all procrastinators tell ourselves, right? We'll get to it later, no problem, right? You know, what's the rush? You look at the task, I can do it later. I've got time, right?
Or
There'll
no
be enough
time.
time for that. So the first, Gail, you just want to say something?
I said, or no time, I don't have time right now to do it, or so.
Now I'll do it later. Right,
Yeah.
but right, saying that I'll find time later. And the very first essential message that Rabbi Tarfon tells us, the day is short. That's not the right attitude to life. We can never live life thinking I've got time. We don't have time. There has to be a certain sense of time is of the essence. It's critical. We don't have time. We can't just, kick back and just wait it out and do things later. There has to be a certain assertiveness to life and a certain preciousness to life, and not let that time go by, because everything physical is finite. That is the number one rule of everything physical. Anything physical is going to wither away, including our lifespan. We all have a finite amount of years, of months, of days. And Rabbi Tarfon says we cannot be passive in life. There has to be a certain assertiveness, a certain vigorousness about our attitude to life. And we can't just tell ourselves we have plenty of time. That's point number one. And as we're going to see, this point spills over into the further points. But that's the very first point. To live an ethical life as a Jew means that you know that every moment is important, every day is important, that we don't just have time. And today, there's a mission for today. The commentaries, when they want to bring out the attitude that Rabbi Tarfon was trying to teach us here, that the day is short, the commentaries point out to a midrash that teaches us that when Moses was on the mountain receiving the Torah from God for 40 days and 40 nights, the midrash, our sages teach us, Moses did not sleep a wink, which seems physically impossible, humanly impossible, right? Not to sleep for 40 days straight. But up in heaven, the rules are a little bit different up there, I guess. Moses didn't sleep for 40 days. Now, why didn't he sleep? It's very simple. He knew he's receiving the Torah. He knows that he only has 40 days up here. He saw the time ticking. Now, I hate to use this example, but we just had that this week, where we were searching for the submersible that went to the right, that went down to the Titanic, and we all knew it's the clock is ticking. At a certain point, we know time is out, and then it's out. Moses felt that way when he was on the mountain. He knew he has to study all the Torah that he could get, and not squander moments. It was time to sleep when you're up in heaven and you have such a critical mission. And our sages say that's kind of how we have to approach life. You can't just wake up and say, okay, here's another day, and let the day go passively by. We have to really seize the moment in a very strong way. And the commentaries say, imagine if you were given 24 hours. Imagine if somebody brought you into a room and said, this is a room full of treasures, full of gold. Whatever you could take in the next 24 hours is yours to keep. Would you go to sleep that day? You say, I'm tired. What should I do? I got to take an 8-hour nap. Or would you keep yourself up to spend the entire night hauling out as much as you can, and then after 24 hours, you'll go to sleep? I say, that's what Rabbi Tafel saying. The day is short, and we have to have that attitude. We don't have the time. Time is of the essence. Be assertive in life, and that's the very first message that Rabbi Tafel teaches us. Be assertive. We have to have a certain vigor of life. There has to be a vigorousness. Now, I'll tell you something very interesting. The opening law, the very opening law of the code of Jewish law. So if you go to a Jewish bookstore, you buy the Shulchan Aruch, the code of Jewish law, and you want to check it out. What's Jewish law? So the very opening page is going to be how to wake up in the morning. Jewish law begins with the daily life of a Jew. So day begins the way you wake up. So Jewish law tells you how to wake up. There's a way to wake up as a Jew. There's a way to wake up, not like a Jew. How do you wake up like a Jew? This is the very opening paragraph of Jewish law, that a Jew must wake up like a lion. Got to wake up like a lion. And you should wake the morning. The morning should not wake you. Isn't that so poetic? That's powerful words. Some people, they let the morning wake them up. No. You wake the morning. You be the one to wake up the morning. You get up before the morning. Don't be passive. It's an attitude. Have a vigor, have an assertiveness. I'm waking up. I've got what to do today. That's number one. That's message number one of Rabbi Tarfon. The day is short. Be assertive. Don't give into that excuse of saying, I've got time. We don't have time, and we got to take the bull by its horns and make today the best day. Moving right along to point number 2. The next excuse we tell ourselves, the first excuse was, we'll do it later. So Rabbi Tarfon says, no, you've got no time. Bad attitude. The second excuse is, I won't work so hard. I'll take it easy. I have to work hard my whole life. Life has to be so difficult. And we sort of take, again, it's a passive approach. I'll live a good life. I'll do good things. I don't have to be the world's biggest mover and shaker. I don't have to work too hard. It's okay. It's maybe an attitude of even lowering your expectations. Like, I don't have to be the biggest overachiever. Whatever, I'll do. I'll take it easy. I don't have to work so hard. That's excuse number 2. So Rabbi Tarfon immediately says, what does Rabbi Tarfon say? The work is much. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. The work is much. Your mission in life is never going to come by taking it easy. Accomplishment, what you have to do, what God expects from us, what God has in store for us, our purpose in life, our mission in life is going to take work, it's going to take effort, it's going to take sacrifice. And a Jew has to know this. We have to expect to work. We have to expect to meet challenges. And that's a very healthy part of life. If we're taking it too easy, that means we're not accomplishing. We're not meant to take it easy. There's a famous, beautiful statement in Job, biblical statement. Job said, man is born to toil. We're not born to take it easy. There was once a Jew who came to complain to the Rabbi, and he complained to the Rabbi. He says, I don't know what God wants from me. Life is so difficult. You know what the Rabbi told him? The Rabbi said, and since when did you sign a contract with God that life's going to be easy? I don't know, maybe you have a contract. Since when did you sign a contract with God that life's going to be easy? The way God made us humans is that we only fulfill our mission by effort. You know, there's a very interesting thing. According to science, the natural science, everything fulfills its purpose. Everything fulfills its purpose without effort, and even unknowingly. Do you think flowers know? Do you think the flowers know what role they play? And you think the bees know what role they play in pollination? You know, we live in a world of millions, endless amounts of forces, every single one playing their exact role to create the equilibrium of life and to create a sustainable world that we all live in. And we all know that a tiny, tiny deviation from what we need the world to look like, the checks and balances between all the different forces of nature, and our world would not be sustainable. So according to the laws of natural science, everything naturally fulfills its purpose. So it's an amazing phenomenon if you think about it. Everything in this world fulfills its purpose besides humans. We are the only ones that are not hardwired to automatically fulfill our purpose. Isn't that amazing? The bees and the flowers automatically do their purpose. We don't. We are the only ones who are not automated to do what we need to do, which is a curse and a blessing, right? It means we have to work hard. We have to be very conscious of our life. We can't just be cruising through life, or else we run the risk of spoiling, of missing out on what we're meant to be doing, of who we're meant to be. But there's a reason why this is the way. There's a beautiful teaching I once studied from the Rebbe. And the Rebbe spoke about the idea that when God created humanity, he says, let us create man in our image, that we were created in the image of God. Now, what does that mean, that we were created in the image of God? So the Rebbe said one of the beautiful aspects of this teaching, that we're created in the image of God, is that just as God is a creator, we were endowed with the ability to be creators. Nothing else in this world could create. Nothing else in this world could change the status quo. The only things in existence that could really cause change is God and a human. You know, not as much as God, but to a degree. And a creation means that there's a status quo and then we are changing something out of its status quo. That's creation. And one of our creations is ourselves. We have to be people who meet the task of our own internal work. We can't be passive about who we are. We need to be changing, evolving humans, evolving Jews in development. That's a very healthy attitude, that we need to know that the work is big. It's a big job, right? What does Rabbi Tarfon say? The work is much. We are creators. It's not just going to be a natural process that we're just going to be, and whatever we need to be, that's who we're going to be. No, it's going to be real effort, real conscious effort of us doing what we need to be, of us doing the internal transformation to try to change ourselves, and even radically to be creators and to meet our purpose, to do what we need to do, and to not, to know that it's hard work. It's a very important thing. And that's the second idea that Rabbi Tarfon teaches us. Life is work. Hard work is not like a bug in the system of life. That is essential to human living. It's essential to the Jewish lifestyle. We work hard. And we don't look for shortcuts, because shortcuts are ultimately not shortcuts. Shortcuts simply mean that we are removing ourselves from our purpose, removing ourselves from the task at hand. We have to know, and it's a healthy expectation, that's going to be hard work, and we're going to do it. right? As the Rabbi said, we never signed the contract with God that life's going to be easy. We never signed the contract with God that our mission is going to be easy. Life is work. And the sages specifically speak to this about studying Torah. Study Torah takes work. You can't just study Torah when it's convenient to you. Doing a mitzvah and studying Torah is an endless pursuit. And it's something that we have to be willing to push ourselves, even when it's hard. We can't just take it easy. That's the second idea. So we have 2 points so far from Rabbi Tarfon. Number one, be assertive, be vigorous in life. Know that the time is of the essence. The day is short. And number two, life is work. There's so much to do. And we have to know that it's going to be work. All right, moving right along to point number 3. The third thing that Rabbi Tarfon says is the workers are lazy. The workers are lazy. So time is short. There's so much to do, and we're lazy. Which is where people say, I know I've got a big job to do, but I'll stay up at night. This is like what everybody says, a college could say this, I've got my finals coming up. Today I'll take it easy. And next week I'll stay up for 2 nights in a row and I'll catch up. And this is the excuse of I'll catch up. I know I don't have time. I know I've got a lot to do, but I'll catch up. That's the third excuse. And this is a very big tendency that we push things off. We'll say, yeah, I'll get back to this. I'll work extra hard and I'll get there. So Rabbi Tarfon says that's not a good attitude. Number one, on a very practical level, catching up becomes double as hard. This is the way the commentaries describe it. If you're on a road, if you're meant to be traveling on a road and you start going off the path, let's say you go 1 day's way out of the path. 1 day out of the path means you need to spend a whole other day just getting back on the path. If you wasted a day, that day is not just 1 day lost. It's really 2 days lost. Because it's going to take you now double the time to get back on track. So it's basic math that when time is not waiting for us, the mission is not waiting for us. When we push things off, it's actually going to take double the amount of effort to get back on track. So it's a very bad strategy to push things off, especially when it comes to our very mission in life. So that's number one, just on a very practical level, why it's a bad idea to push things off. But more importantly, and this is really what Rabbi Tarfon is teaching us, there's a very fundamental issue with pushing off something that needs to happen today, that is your calling today, and pushing it off for tomorrow. And the reason is because there's a beautiful teaching in Judaism that there's nothing that God created that he didn't create for a purpose. Nothing doesn't have purpose. Nothing. I want to read this text with you. Text 3. This is a midrash. And the midrash brings out this idea that everything has to have a purpose. Let's read. Text 3 on page 3. King David was once sitting in his garden and saw a spider. Said David to God, "What benefit for your world is there in these creations of yours? The spider may weave all year long, but no one wears its product." Said God to him, "David, there will come a time when you will need them." So it's a very interesting question. David was somebody who was a very wise man. He understood this idea. Everything in this world serves a purpose for God. And he couldn't understand spiders they weave. What ultimate purpose is there in the spider's existence in our world? How does it serve God? What purpose does it serve in the larger scheme of things? So God says, right, hold your beer, I'll show you. Okay, let's continue. When David was hiding from King Saul in a cave, King Saul was chasing after David, right, and he wanted him beheaded. God sent the spider to weave its web across the opening of the cave. When Saul came and saw the web, he said, "Certainly no person entered here," and he went away. Very interesting, right? The second after King David goes into the cave, a spider immediately makes a web. King Saul says, "There's a web here. Nobody could have gotten in here." So King David is certainly not hiding here, and that's how God saved King David. What is the message over here? Everything in existence, every creation, every object has a purpose. But it's not just physical objects, it's also every phenomenon, every potential in this universe has a specific purpose for which God created it. Which also means that every moment of time is a distinct creation. Every moment of time has its own potential. Time has tremendous potential. There is a purpose in every moment of time. This is a moment of your life, right? It's a moment of life that will never ever come back again. What that means is that we don't just have a purpose for life, which is like, yeah, over our entire lifespan, God has in mind that we should do this or that. It means today, right now, there's a purpose for your existence right now. Right now it is. Every moment of time has a purpose for which we can utilize it. That we could unleash the potential for which this moment of time was created. And that's what Rabbi Tarfon is saying. The workers are lazy. What does laziness mean? Laziness doesn't necessarily mean people who don't do things. Lazy people also do things. Let's put it this way. Every not lazy person has downtime. And every lazy person does get things done. So where do you draw the line between the lazy and the non-lazy? The lazy and the go-getters? And the difference is this. Laziness is an attitude. It's an attitude of passivity. When there's something I need to do, I'll get up from the couch and do it. But until then, I'm just taking it easy. If it's not critical, there's no deadline, then I'll just take it easy. That's the lazy attitude. Rabbi Tarfon saying that's not good. The workers are lazy. It's a bad attitude. We can't be lazy. We have to be the opposite. We have to be aggressively seizing the opportunity of every moment and not have a lazy attitude in life. There's a divine potential in every moment that we are granted by God, and we need to unleash that potential, hold on to that potential. So there we have three ideas so far. Number one, be assertive in life. Time is of the essence. Number two, what was number two? Number two was life is work. Life is work. We got work to do. It's gonna be hard work. And number three, every moment has its own unique possibilities, its own unique potentials. And we need to seize every single moment and not have a lazy attitude in life. If there's something good to do it right now. We got to do it. You know, and I'm reminded a story here that there was a rabbi from South Africa who was visiting New York for like an end of year vacation, I believe. You know, it's December. He's coming. He came to New York, and when he was visiting New York, that's like in the 70s. He made an appointment to visit the Rebbe, to Lubavitcher Rebbe in Brooklyn one night. So Rebbe was speaking to him specifically about Jewish prisoners in South Africa. Are their needs being met? And the Rebbe wanted to know, Hanukkah was coming up. Do the Jews in the prisons of South Africa have access to menorahs? All right. So I love even just the whole setup over here. There's a rabbi in Brooklyn, and he gets a visitor from just a rabbi in South Africa. And the subject matter is the prisoners, the Jewish prisoners, and if they have menorahs. You know, that was how the Rebbe's mind worked, you know. And he said no, that he, you know, it could be he was a chaplain who's already involved with activism with the Jews in prison. And he said that no, the Jews will not be able to, you know, he wasn't able to accomplish that. The Jews in prison should be able to have menorahs. So the Rebbe says that he wanted this rabbi to give a call to the chaplain and to make an extra push and say that he's meeting here with the Grand Lubavitcher Rebbe in Brooklyn. and that we really, really need the Jews to get menorahs. And the Rebbe says, please leave my office. And you could use the phone in my secretary's office and make the call. He says, Rebbe, right now in South Africa, it's like 3:00 in the morning. So Rebbe said, no, all the better. When the chaplain gets a call 3:00 in the morning, he'll know we mean business. He knows that this is critical. He's like, Rebbe, you serious? Like, yeah, I'm serious. Go make the call. Just right across the hall is my secretary's office. Go make the call. He did that. He makes a call 3:00 in the morning. And the chaplain was so shaken up that he gets his call 3:00 in the morning that he went to work right away. And by the time it was morning in South Africa, all the paperwork has been done. And the Jews in the Jewish prison in South Africa were able to get the menorahs. But the Rebbe's attitude over there was like, why push it off? Why push it off? There's no reason. There was like 3:00 in the morning. That's great. We're ready to work now. We should wait till everybody is up and ready and after coffee. Let's. It's important. Let's get to work. So seizing every moment. And Joseph Telushkin, he wrote a biography on the Rebbe. So he coined the Rebbe's attitude as, if there's something worth doing, do it now. Right? If you could do it right now. That's it. And that's this attitude, the opposite of a lazy attitude, because lazy people also get things done, but they push it off and they say, when I need to do it, I'll get it done, versus seizing the moment as it comes, seizing the opportunity as it comes, and seeing the value in every moment. 3 messages so far. Moving on to message number 4. Message number 4 is an attitude that I think, sadly, we all face in life, which is, it's a little bit when we feel, it's not worth all the effort. It's like when we give up a little bit, we throw up our hands and we say, what? How much value am I really giving over here? How much value am I really contributing that much? The world was running just fine before I was born. I'm sure the world will continue to run beautifully after I die. And, even if I work hard my whole life, Rabbi Tafel was saying, work hard, life is hard, and every single day and every single moment. What's it all worth? Is little me really going to change the world? Do I really matter that much in that sense? Judaism sees human life very differently. And let's read this next statement over here. Text 4, which is on page 3 of your handouts. Such a famous, and it's such a radical line from the Mishnah. Text 4, each and every person is obligated to say, for my sake was the world created. The world was created for me. Which seems such a crazy thing, because it sounds like what a narcissist would say, right? The world revolves around me. Is this really the pious attitude? The self-aggrandizement of your ego of like, everything's for me. Everything is mine. So what does this mean? Does this fit with the Jewish value of humility, of negation of ego, the negation of self? The real truth is, no. If you would ask God, if you want to know how the Torah looks at you, not you as the Jewish people, you as an individual, they'll say this is all for you. And every person has to say that. This is how God views you. We just learned before, thy value, that everything has purpose. If every single spider has a purpose, if every moment of time has a purpose, if every drop in the ocean has a purpose, then how much more so every single human being has a purpose. And it's a very beautiful idea that every human being was created differently. We're all created differently, right? None of us have the same fingerprints even. Which also means that every single one of us has a different purpose that no other human being could accomplish. No other human being alive today, no other human being ever alive. You are the only you. There is only one you, not just today, but forever. And the mission that you were created with, there's only one of that. And in that sense, every single Jew has to look at themselves as non-fungible. We cannot look at ourselves as being dispensable. We're not just a bunch of pawns. Like, everybody has to work. Everybody has to get things done. We are each very unique. We are each created with their own gifts, our own capabilities, our own circumstances, our struggles, all of our life experiences that make us who we are, all of our potentials. And we have to use that out. There's nobody else who could do it. And from that perspective, who we are is highly consequential. Our life is highly consequential. What we can accomplish is highly consequential. Your contribution, even if you don't feel like you're the president of the United States, you're like, how much am I really going to do? I'm not Bill Gates. I can't give charity, that will change the world. And FYI, did Bill Gates really change the world? When was the last time a billionaire really changed the world? So, puts things into perspective. I think it frustrates billionaires how little they can actually accomplish, even when they give crazy money. But that's not the point. Let's get back on track. There's only one you. And from that perspective, this is what Rabbi Tarfon says, his fourth statement: the reward is great. The consequences are great. Don't think that little you and your contribution and your role is of little consequence. The reward, this is a high stakes investment. Your life is a high reward venture. That is your life, and that's how we need to look at this at our lives. That the whole world is dependent on us. The whole divine plan is invested just upon us. And that's part number 4. It's not little you. It's the little you that carries the burden of all of history, essentially, of this entire divine purpose. You are that critical piece. And the last statement of Rabbi Tarfon, the final statement of Rabbi Tarfon. The final statement, the final excuse, which is really an excuse of resignation, is no one cares. No one's appreciative. Who am I even doing this for? Why am I working so hard? For who? For what? What does Rabbi Tarfon say? The boss is urging. The boss is noticing. The boss is on your back. The one who created it all, the one who entrusted you with your mission, he's very much invested in your work. Now, we all know in big companies, there's some people that the boss is urging them. And they know that the boss is highly plugged in to their role in the company. Then there are the people who don't even know who the boss is, right? There was a whole show based on this. I don't know if they still do it, right? It was called Undercover Boss, right? You remember that show? The whole premise of Undercover Boss is that most workers don't even know what their boss looks like. So they could just put a little bit of a little bit of makeup on the boss and send them in, and no one even knows who he is. They barely know who the boss is. So even in a small company, there's the high up, there's the high executives, there's the COOs, there's the managers, and then, you have the janitors. Is the boss ever on the janitor's case? Does the janitor ever show up at night to do the cleaning of the office when the boss is there? This is very important. I want to be here. While you're doing your janitorial work, that never happens. Rabbi Tarfon says you should know, we are on the totem pole. Yeah, we're very important. Like how invested is the boss invested in my work? Rabbi Tarfon says the boss is urgent. God is highly invested in our work. And there's a Mishnah that is not part of Pirkei Avot, but there's a beautiful Jewish tradition that every week in the summer, when we study Pirkei Avot, we always begin with this Mishnah, which is from a different tractate. But this sets the tone for the chapter that we're going to learn. So tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to be studying chapter 2 of Pirkei Avot. We always begin with this chapter. You ready? Text 5, page 4. Every individual of Israel has a share in the world to come. As it is stated in Isaiah, your people are all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. They are the shoot of my planting, the work of my hands, in which I take pride. It's crazy words. God is saying every Jew is righteous. Every Jew is special. Every Jew is the shoot of my planting. I created every Jew. They're the work of my hands, and I take pride in every Jew. I have nachas from every Jew. This is the introductory statement we always read before we study Pirkei Avot. So as we work through life, God himself is urging us all along. And God is taking pride in the work that we do. God is highly invested. And Rabbi Tarfon is giving us a version of life, which is life is high stakes, even high expectations, highly rewarding, and it's just up to us to meet the daily challenge. So it's a Mishnah which is very beautiful. It's also a little bit scary. You know, it's the Mishnah that pushes us off the couch. But you know, it gets us moving. It says, you know, you can't take it easy over here. You know, but I'll share with you one final note, which I you know, if we had more time, I'd elaborate on it more. But there's something very interesting about Pirkei Avot. Our sages say, the Talmud says, whoever wants to be a chassid should study Pirkei Avot, which is very interesting because the Talmud is written, you know, 1,500 years ago, 1,600 years ago, and they employ the word chassid, you know, long before the Baal Shem Tov comes around, the founder of the Hasidic movement in the mid-1700s, you know, early mid-1700s. You know, the Talmud even says that Adam was a chassid. So if you study Pirkei Avot, you'll be a chassid. What's a chassid? What does the word chassid mean? And what does it mean that you could be a chassid? You study Pirkei Avot, you'll be a chassid. So the word chassid comes from the word chesed. What does chesed mean? Kindness, benevolence. So is anybody who's kind a chassid? So kindness has something to do with being a chassid, and Pirkei Avot has something to do with being a chassid. The Zohar teaches us like this. The Zohar teaches who is a chassid? One who does kindness with his creator. You see, there are two attitudes to life. There is what God demands of us, and then there's what we demand of ourselves in our service of God. And that's sometimes different. What God demands of us is a lower standard. Jewish law is that baseline standard. And what God demands of us is always with benevolence. God never asks us more than we could do. But then there's the attitude of a chassid, to go above and beyond, to go beyond the call of duty, to act kindly with God, not just do what God wants us to do, but to act kindly with God. And Pirkei Avot is is the expression of that. Pirkei Avot is always taking Jewish law and pushing the bounds. Jewish law says, you only need to study Torah 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening, because you got to go work. That's Jewish law. You know what Pirkei Avot says? No, Pirkei Avot says, minimize on your business affairs and spend even more time studying Torah. Pirkei Avot says, your business should be temporary, but your Torah study should be permanent. Jewish law says, don't be mean to people. Don't curse people. Don't yell at people. Don't offend people. Pirkei Avot says, smile at everybody. Greet every single person with a beautiful face. That's different. That's not law. That's beyond law. That's called being a chassid. It's going beyond the call of duty. Jewish law teaches us the laws of charity. Pirkei Avot says poor people should be like members of your household. That's not law. This is somebody acting as a chassid, doing a kindness to God, which means going above and beyond the call of duty. This Mishnah is the attitude of a chassid. This Mishnah is a little bit of a high-stress work environment, no? We're out of time, high stakes, work hard, there's never enough time. God is on our back. This is the attitude of a chassid. This is the attitude of a chassid who says, I don't want to take it easy, even if I could take it easy. Even if I'm doing everything right. The chassid is always somewhat lazy in his own estimation. He always feels he could be doing more. He knows that God doesn't expect him to do more, but he knows that he could be doing more. And therefore he pushes himself. So Pirkei Avot, in the spirit of Pirkei Avot, being the teachings of making somebody a chassid, to be kind with God. This is very much what we're learning over here. We're, there's what God demands of us, and then there's what Pirkei Avos teaches, what we could demand of ourselves, what we should be demanding of ourselves. We say, yes, God says it's okay that we work so hard, but we could be working even more, and we could be utilizing our time even more. And this is not something that God could demand of us, something we can only demand of ourselves. So Rabbi Tarfon is saying this has to be the attitude of a Jew, not just to answer the call of duty, but to be assertive in life, right? Let's recap over the 5 things. Let's reread the Mishnah again. So turn back to the first text of today. Number 1, Rabbi Tarfon says the day is short. Be assertive. There has to be a certain vigor to life. Number 2, the work is much. Expect to work hard. And we have to push ourselves to work hard, even if we could get away with the easy way out. No, of course, it pushes themselves. Number 3, the workers are lazy. We can't take a passive attitude to life. Every moment is meaningful, and every moment has a potential that we need to unleash. Number 4, the reward is great. There's nobody else who could do what we could do, and what we are doing is highly consequential. Even if society doesn't put us at the top of the pyramid of human society, we have to know the reward is great. And number 5, the boss is urging, God is highly invested. God deeply cares about who we are and what we could accomplish. And dear friends, with that, we conclude today's lesson of Pirkei Avos for chapter 2. I want to wish you all a wonderful Shabbos. I want to encourage you that tonight, tomorrow, over the 25 hours of Shabbos, take out a volume of Pirkei Avos and study chapter 2. And hopefully you'll learn some beautiful stuff there, something inspiring, something heartwarming, and something to give you the motivation to be better and do better and to keep on growing in the coming week ahead. And we'll see you all, God willing, next week, Friday, for chapter 3 coming up.